But now we are revving up to the 5 red lights and away we go for the Chinese Grand Prix. And what a start once again for Giovinazzi, and what a start it is from Alonso, just going around the outside of pretty much everyone, as Giovinazzi managing to get up into P16, but he's been knocked there. Unless he can now throw one down the inside. What an audacious move there. The engine in the back of our Haas is looking very beneficial at this point as we now brake going in to the hairpin. Giovinazzi makes a dive down the inside and there's been contact between the two of them, and Giovinazzi is surely going to have to let Grosjean through. Doesn't quite work for Giovinazzi. P9 and P10 for the Haas boys. Another double points finish. What's up guys, and welcome to part number 3 of the F1 2017 Road to Ferrari. Here today for the Bahrain Grand Prix, and as you saw there in the Chinese Grand Prix, it was a pretty exciting one, and after 2 point scoring rounds, double point scoring rounds for the Haas team, we will be looking to well, do the same again today. There you can see Antonio very focused in the car ahead of today's Bahrain Grand Prix. And before we get into the action, we're just going to take a look around the office and at the research and development. So there you can see the first aerodynamic part has been put onto the car, and it is the rear wing main plane. So that takes us actually ahead of Force India in the aerodynamics. And yeah, once again, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts as to what development we should do. And I think I'm probably going to go for an engine. That seems to be the general consensus down in the comments. But anyway, on to the first test of the weekend in practice, and Antonio is doing the track acclimatization, but got the rear end really sticking out, and the DRS just wasn't activated. So as a result of that, he only got green on the first run. But there you can see with just 2 green gates on the second running, meaning before the final DRS zone he had already got the purple time. So yeah, that was a pretty decent start to the weekend. Not quite perfect, but now onto the tyre wear. And there you can see 6/10 is how far Antonio is off the pace. So this Haas car this weekend is maybe not looking quite as quick as it was in China and Australia, even though of course the aerodynamic part has been put on. You know, obviously we've got a chassis part waiting, and yeah, eventually we did manage to do that time just about, and then it was time for the fuel saving. And obviously Bahrain, a circuit renowned to be difficult for the fuel saving, and coming around the final corner, just about getting into the green time but still into the red, so lifting off towards the line, meaning that he just about completed that test. So didn't bother continuing on to try and get purple, because that was never going to happen. And once again on the race strategy, failing one of the laps, which wasn't too great, but did manage to get there in the end. And then finally Antonio waited to the evening session in practice 2 to go on to the qualifying run, because obviously that is when the when qualifying does take place in the real life, well, yeah, in the actual session. So it was looking very difficult, only managing P15 after the second lap, and P13 was the target, and Antonio managed to attain it on the third and final time of asking. But yeah, as I said, it was looking very difficult then ahead of qualifying on Saturday, and there you can see the clouds are rolling in a lot across the desert, and getting now onto the first timed lap of the day for Antonio. Only a few cars have set a time so far, and there you can see he's 7/10 behind Felipe Massa in the Williams, which will sort of be on the verge of the top 8 this afternoon. And there you can see Sebastian Vettel now setting a time, and after 2 sectors, Giovinazzi is 2 seconds off, and there he's just looking a very scruffy lap at the moment. So he gets on the DRS, comes across the line, quicker than the Saubers, but not quicker than anybody else, quite a way off Jolyon Palmer. But he continues on then for another lap, and coming round the final corner, you can see 2.5 tenths up, and if he can get a good run out of this final corner, it may be improving even more. And there you can see 4 tenths up on his previous best time, but he doesn't move an inch. He's still P13, only ahead of the Saubers, and then comes back into the garage, you know, quickly refuels and back out for the final run. And what's this? He's missed it again. And that just, he's down in P17, and that just proves that the 12-minute qualifying sessions just are not long enough. But anyway, we are going to get into the grid for the Bahrain Grand Prix, and once again it was Valtteri Bottas heading an all-finish front row. Kimi Räikkönen there in second, with Hamilton and Verstappen breaking into the top 4. Ricciardo in 5th, another good result for him, with Sebastian Vettel down in P8 in a disappointing session for him. Jolyon Palmer outqualified his teammate Hülkenberg, with Grosjean there up in 15th, but still not a great time from the Frenchman, but over a second ahead of Giovinazzi, with Pascal Wehrlein at the rear of the grid. So now, going into the race, it is sunny today. So obviously we had some overcast conditions, as you saw there on Saturday. But it is Kimi Räikkönen who is leading the championship going into this race, although some poor results from Sebastian Vettel mean that it is Mercedes up at the top of the constructors' standings. Can Bottas convert this pole position into a win? We will have to wait and see. But there you can see a little comparison between Giovinazzi and Grosjean. So Grosjean getting another one-up on Giovinazzi in terms of qualifying, and he's outraced Antonio in both of the races so far. They share a fastest lap apiece, with it being 8 points to 3 for Grosjean in comparison to the Italian. Looking at the tyre strategy for today, it's looking as if it's going to be a 2-stop. Everyone starting on the supers before going onto the softs and ending on the mediums. Of course, you can you can change those around, but it could also be a 3-stopper for some of the drivers feeling a little bit more aggressive. 2 supers and 2 soft stints for those who want to steer away from the mediums. But now it is time to get into the action for the Bahrain Grand Prix. 5 lights and away we go here at the Bahrain International Circuit, and it's not as good a start as usual for Giovinazzi, and in fact he started the race in lean mix, which was not ideal. But going into turn 1, you want to try and stay out of trouble here, and Sainz there going right to the outside. Giovinazzi just trying to pick his way through. Currently he goes past Marcus Ericsson before then getting past Sainz, getting a bit of a tank slapper on, but still up into P15, and now it's going to be Grosjean and Hülkenberg battling with each other. Grosjean looks as if he's just about got ahead there. He is the lead Haas, of course. We're just going to follow him behind and hopefully try and get past. But there you can see Giovinazzi is just sort of keeping the distance at the moment, as I said. And Grosjean and Hülkenberg still going at it. Is Giovinazzi going to make a dive down the inside just like he did in China at turn 6? It looks as if he is, but there you can see Hülkenberg getting great traction off the corner, and it is now Grosjean against Giovinazzi. There's contact between the two of them. Grosjean forcing the Italian out wide, but as we come towards the DRS zone, obviously DRS is yet to be active. We're going to see now what sort of straight line pace the Haas has. But there you can see a Red Bull at the head of this massive train. It is Daniel Ricciardo, so he has had an awful start to this Grand Prix. But Giovinazzi managing to get past Hülkenberg. And now it's Daniel Kvyat and Roman Grosjean fighting at it, as Grosjean makes up yet another position. Slight contact there between Giovinazzi and Kvyat. But it looks as if the Russian has just about got the pace for the meantime. But of course he has the Renault engine in the back of that Toro Rosso, and Giovinazzi has that slightly better Ferrari engine, which we will be looking to improve as this season goes on. And now coming towards the end of a pretty frantic lap 1, you can see this massive train of cars in the midfield, which has made for something really exciting racing so far this season. It's just getting longer and longer as you have the likes of Daniel Ricciardo slipping into there, and Grosjean in fact goes around the outside of him. But we're just going to take a look to see here what happened with Ricciardo. So he had a poor start as it was, and then locked up into that triple left-hander, got really poor traction, and then just completely fell into the clutches of the likes of even Jolyon Palmer. So yeah, not a great start for the Australian, and it looks as if he has issues early on in this Grand Prix even. So possibly some issues with the electrical deployment, because even the sister Toro Rosso has gone round the outside of Ricciardo, and surely that is issues with his MG UK, you'd imagine so, as early as lap 3 on this Grand Prix. So it's looking pretty ominous for the man who qualified in 5th position, I believe. But there you saw Daniel Kvyat just completely locking his tyres, and that was an easy position for us up into P12. But now Giovinazzi eyeing up an 11th place here on Esteban Ocon. the Frenchman, who he's already got into battle with once this season in Australia, tries to look down the inside there, but thinks better of it. Of course, we're only on lap 5 at the moment, but the Italian now straightening up the car for this run down into turn 4. Is he going to make a move on the Frenchman? It doesn't look so. But now as we just take a look at the right-hand side, you can see Giovinazzi with minus 0.7 laps of fuel. So, yeah, he's going to have to try and manage the fuel in this Grand Prix. But, of course, you know, starting so low down in the grid, he had to go light on fuel to try and make up positions. And it looks as if that is what he is doing early on here, peppering the back of that Force India. And now coming towards the DRS zone, of course, he will get DRS, unlike when we saw him, you know, trying to make moves on lap 1. So taking a little bit of a wide entrance now to the triple left-hander. And this DRS zone is just not quite long enough, especially obviously now with these 2017 cars, a little bit more turbulent air, more difficult to follow, more difficult to pass. And yeah, it looks as if he is going to be able to make a move on Ocon, it's going to be on the main straight, but now closing up ever further to Esteban Ocon. Thinks better of a move, you know, just at the start of Sector 3. And he's really going to have to try and get past now, because you can see the gap up to P10. And as we come towards the final corner, is he going to make a move down the inside? He has the DRS already lined up, so tries to get a good exit off turn 15. And he is already past Ocon. So now it's going to be interesting to see the pace of that Mercedes engine against the Ferrari with DRS. So you can see there, it is in fact Daniel Ricciardo who's going to be making a move on Ocon, and Giovinazzi there, lovely move up into P11, keeps it there. And Ricciardo now looks as if he has sort of eased his issues, but while a man with more issues is his teammate Max Verstappen. It's just like real life F1. He breaks down at the side of the road, very near to where he broke down in real life here, where he had brake issues in the 3rd round of the season. But that is awful luck. Engine troubles at Red Bull then, and surely, you know, it's looking ominous for Daniel Ricciardo, of course, down in P11. But can he resurrect his afternoon by making a move now on Giovinazzi? The red proximity arrow appears, meaning that he is nearby, and he goes down the inside, taking a look at the cinematic view, and he goes now for the position, and there is nothing Giovinazzi can do about it. Trying to just get good traction off turn 2 and through turn 3. Is he going to be able to stay with the Australian until the you know, the first round of pit stops? We are nearing that pit window, as conveniently the tyre gauge pops up at the end of lap 8. So the rears are taking quite a beating around here, which is interesting because you do have quite a few traction zones. And now Daniel Ricciardo coming into the pit lane, as is Romain Grosjean, which makes up our mind. Giovinazzi is going to carry on for another lap, but he's currently up into P3. So it's only Valtteri Bottas and I believe Kimi Raikkonen currently ahead of him, but they have both made their first pit stops. And now we have more yellow flags, and you look down there to turn 1, there is a car off, and it is Lewis Hamilton who's had a complete delamination of that soft tyre, which is very, very strange because he's only just switched on to them. So maybe a duff set of Pirelli tyres, but either way, that is going to surely bring out at least a virtual safety car. No, it brings out a full safety car, so possibly some debris on the track, but that has completely messed up Giovinazzi's afternoon. Everyone else has effectively had a free pit stop on him. And as he now comes out of the pit lane, the question is, how many positions is he going to lose? So as you see here, coming through the pit lane, and that is just awful luck. You can see even the Sauber of Marcus Ericsson has got ahead of him, trying to brake and get ahead of the Swede. But P17, that is just awful luck. I mean, that is just, like I say, just the luck of the draw. So Giovinazzi with a lot of work to do for the rest of this afternoon. At the end of lap 12, the safety car peeling off into the pit lane, and we go racing once again in Bahrain. So as the sunset is upon us here in the desert, it looks as if Giovinazzi is going to make a move possibly on the Sauber into turn 1. Obviously it only has the 2016 Ferrari in the back of it, and it's going to be possibly a double overtake, catching Daniel Kvyat napping. He's currently on the super soft tyres, and Giovinazzi switching on to the mediums, and you know, just trying to go as late into this race as possible. Now at this stage, the Haas boys, I think, were thinking of going for a super soft stint at the end of the race. So yeah, just going to have to see how it pans out and what the rest of the drivers do. But as we go on to lap 13, it looks as if there's a few drivers already coming into the pit lane, one of which I saw there, Esteban Ocon. Obviously Daniel Kvyat still on those super soft tyres, but ahead of us is where we're going to be looking now, because it's Stoffel Van Dorn, who must have put himself into a great position before that safety car came out. But now he is coming under some pressure from the cars ahead, one of which being Carlos Sainz and the other Nico Hülkenberg. Lockups everywhere for Van Dorn, who I believe is still on his first compound of tyres. And what a double overtake there from Giovinazzi. First of all, making the move on the Renault and then on the McLaren. Beautiful stuff up into P10. And now he is back behind Carlos Sainz, almost back to square one. You know, up into sort of the edge of the points. But going now up into P9 with Lance Stroll coming into the pit lane. So he was, again, one of the drivers that ended up going for 2 super soft stints. So the safety car has really harmed those who committed to the 3 stoppers. Arguably more so than Giovinazzi, who waited, of course, that extra lap to pit. But he's currently now up in P9 and pressuring Carlos Sainz, but he just goes onto the brakes a little bit too late. And now Nico Hülkenberg has come at the Italian. And as we go now through this second sector, is he going to be able to hang it around the outside? Yes, he does. And that could end up being a crucial move as to, you know, not be stuck behind that Renault car. So now, once again, he can concentrate on getting up with Sainz. But obviously, you know, Sainz at this stage is on the soft tyres and Giovinazzi on the mediums. So it's becoming very difficult now as we've got our teammate in the pit lane currently. But more pressing matters are that Lewis Hamilton is making a move down the inside as Kimi Raikkonen emerges from the pit lane. And it's going to be ever so tight as Hamilton just about edges ahead of Giovinazzi. And just look at how much more traction the Mercedes car gets. So Hülkenberg currently behind Giovinazzi, but he is currently just looking to try and stay with Hamilton as much as possible and possibly even get DRS. But you can just see he is striding away. And yeah, that just increased as the Grand Prix went on. Lap 18 now, and a lot more cars coming into the pit lane. So still 11 laps left, but Valtteri Bottas now for his final stop of the day. He's on the medium tyres, and is he going to be able to go around the outside? Yes, he does. Giovinazzi making another brilliant move, and although it may only be temporary, it's nice to get ahead of those Mercedes and possibly getting in the good books of Ferrari early on. But Bottas then goes down the inside and brake checks us, which is yeah, a little bit naughty from Valtteri, but nonetheless, he does manage to get ahead, and of course, he has that quicker car. So, yeah, in a completely different race to ourselves. But still, P6 looking very good, and with 3 more cars into the pit lane, one of which being Lewis Hamilton, Jolyon Palmer all the way up in P3 at one point, which is fantastic for the Brit. But anyway, Giovinazzi now finding himself up in P3, and being closed down by the rest of the pack. And as we go on to lap 20, you can take a look at the tyre wear there. On the mediums, strangely enough, it's looking a lot more front wear. And yeah, Vettel just coming past us now, not putting up too much of a fight. Obviously, as I've previously mentioned, we want to try and get into the Ferrari good books. But anyway, Giovinazzi now on lap 20. At this point, it's a case of, you know, shall we just stay out to the end? You can see Grosjean not far behind. So going on to lap 24, very much committed to the one-stopper, which was completely out of the question at the start of this Grand Prix. But Antonio now coming under threat from Sergio Perez, coming down into turn 1. Is he going to be able to defend from the man with the Mercedes engine in the back? No, in fact, it's the man with the Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton, who gets past Perez, and surely he is going to get past Giovinazzi sooner rather than later. Coming now on the run towards turn 4. Is he going to put up a much of a fight? Of course he is. Giovinazzi wants every position possible, but I think realistically he knows that he's more in a fight with the likes of Sergio Perez and Romain Grosjean. So yes, keeping P4 for the meantime, but I'm sure that probably won't last too long. coming down into lead. He's saved his fuel exceptionally well today. You know, using rich mix when he needs to on the DRS straights. So into lead, and you'll see him probably now flick up into rich. Yes, he does indeed. And although Hamilton does have DRS, is he going to be able to stay ahead at this stage? Hamilton now pulls to the inside and makes the move at the end of the short DRS straight. So nothing Giovinazzi can really do about that, but he goes a little bit wide. Now the side by side, the hand of rage goes up from Giovinazzi, and now almost being pushed out onto the exit curve. But oh no, Perez taking a look down the inside. So yeah, Hamilton pushing Giovinazzi out wide and almost costing him another position. So as we now go towards the final corner, is Perez going to be able to make a move? Of course, he will have DRS. I'm not sure whether Giovinazzi does and whether he was close enough. Yes, he was just about close enough to Hamilton, getting squeezed out to the outside by Perez, who then darts to the inside towards the racing line. Grosjean also putting him under pressure, but Giovinazzi now braking into turn 1. Is he going to be able to get a good line through there? He takes a very wide line, almost, well, definitely too wide, as Perez then slips through. Once again, it's wheel-to-wheel racing, something that Bahrain has been renowned for, and finally this race has come to life. And is he going to be able to make a switchback move? Oh, what a move that is from Giovinazzi. And that is just brilliant, brilliant racing. And wow, Sergio Perez there completely caught napping. He thought he'd got the position, but Giovinazzi does not give up easily. And now we go on to the final lap of this Grand Prix. Just one more, or 1.5 more DRS zones to go. You've got a little DRS zone on the run to the line. The fireworks go off for another victory for Kimi Räikkönen, and surely Giovinazzi has now got enough in the tank to be able to hold this P5. And just switching onto the tyre wear there, you can see 75% at the moment, but he's got a big train of cars behind him, and the left front has gone. The left front has gone straight to 100, and that is disastrous. With just 2 corners remaining, we have a puncture on the Haas car. Grosjean goes through, so fortunately preserving some points for the Haas team, but this is disastrous. You've now got 2 more cars that have got past Giovinazzi, and as he breaks into the final corner, surely the 2 Redders are going to get past, and that is 5 positions lost in just a couple of corners. Oh, is he going to be able to hold P10 ahead of Kvyat? I think he just about does. But oh my word, as he pulls off to the side of the road, his car is in tatters. But what an end to the Grand Prix that was. Heartbreak for Antonio Giovinazzi, who looked as if he was going to bring 10 points home. He looked as if he'd outfoxed his teammates, but it just was not meant to be in the end. Kimi Räikkönen then takes the victory for Ferrari. But if that safety car had have come out even just 1 lap later, then you could, or just not at all, you could argue that that 1 stop would definitely have worked. But boy, oh boy, what a Grand Prix we had today. It was another victory for Ferrari, as I mentioned. Bottas in P2 and Vettel in P3 as Kimi lifts his trophy, not looking too happy, so realism on point for once. And there you go, spraying the champagne. And wow, what a Bahrain Grand Prix it has been, guys. If that doesn't deserve a like, I don't know what does. Do make sure to comment also down below your thoughts on the race, and yeah, whether any of you guys have been able to pull off a 1-stopper. But there you can see the final results. Hamilton was the only other car that we didn't see there that actually finished ahead of Romain Grosjean, so we were pretty much the best of the rest. We were, you know, ahead of everybody apart from the Mercedes and Ferrari, but Grosjean takes that accolade, which is very, very annoying. Just 2 DNFs today. Verstappen and Massa as well didn't finish the race. Ocon down in P17, so a poor strategy from the Force India guys. And yeah, Giovinazzi slipping down into P12 now, with Grosjean up in P8. I mean, surely his luck has got to end soon. As yeah, Sergio Perez is on 20 points, but apart from that, Grosjean's been the best of the rest. Haas then staying in P5 in the Constructors, and it's not really a competition at the moment between 5th and 6th, but Force India and Haas could be a good little battle, and there you see what it is looking like in terms of the teammate battle. It's not been great so far, I won't lie, for Giovinazzi, but surely the run for Grosjean will end soon. He's been outraced 3 times, but arguably there outfoxed the Frenchman. So we'll have to see what happens next time at the Russian Grand Prix. But until then, guys, do take care. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.